You're listening to WCSB Cleveland. This is Heartbeat in the Brain, filling in for Radio Nomad, Monday, 4 to 6. This is Jake. I'm going to give you a playlist in a little while, but I gotta tune out the song because we got a special guest on, and I'm going to put him on right now. Hello, are you there?
Yes, Jake, Dennis Kucinich here. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to talk to you, Dennis. How are you doing?
Real well. You know, we have an election coming up tomorrow, and I'm making the rounds across the city. But I certainly wanted to make sure that I had a chance to say hello to you at WCSB. You may not know this, but I attended Cleveland State for over 3 years, completed most of my requirements towards a triple major in English, sociology, and psychology, and ended up transferring out to pursue another major. But Cleveland State's always been important in my educational experience and background. And, you know, you might be surprised to learn that I was elected to city council when I was still a junior at Cleveland State.
Well, I know your nickname was the Boy Mayor back in the day. I didn't know you went to Cleveland State. I guess probably back then WCSB, the radio station, didn't exist yet.
Well, radio did. It wasn't that long ago.
Well, radio did, but I think we started in '76, I believe, is the year WCSB came around. So I don't know, probably around that time when you were a junior.
Right. So anyhow, you know, I still remember those days fondly, and I was very involved on campus. I actually wrote a play that was performed on campus, did an adaptation, and my advisor at that point was Joe Gary, who was very famous as a artistic director at Cleveland State for many years. And then another thing you might be interested in is they had a thing called the General Electric College Ball Team, and it was individuals who may have had an expertise in certain areas, and they were involved in it's a national quiz show. So Cleveland State was chosen to be on, and I was the generalist on the Cleveland State team. But I ended up not going to New York because the appearance fell on the weekend before the election. And so I stayed and continued my campaign, and I won the campaign by 16 votes. So
wow,
it was
down to the wire.
It was down to the wire.
What was the name of the play that you wrote?
It wasn't about politics, but the name of it was Insanity.
Insanity.
And it was a Reader's Theater approach. The author was Joseph Kaufler, and it was kind of a predecessor of Marat Sade, and but it really came from my understanding of the work of Edgar Lee Masters and the work that he did on Spoon River.
Okay.
So, you know, I have a background in the theater that came out of Cleveland State, and I know that the young people are there wondering what's Cleveland going to be like, and if I return to the mayor's office, I intend to make sure that the economic opportunities that young people need to be able to stay in town, that they're going to be here. And, you know, across the board in the arts as well as in sciences and technology, I intend to help bring Cleveland back. I remember what it was as a struggling student, working 2 jobs and going to school full-time. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's what I did. And I remember what it's like to really want to make an impact in the world and have high aspirations. And, you know, there's certain practicalities, like what are you paying for rent? What do you pay for utilities? Can you get a job? Are you making at least minimum wage? These are all things that are in my understanding, and I think that will be helpful for Cleveland State students to have somebody in that office who understands not only what they go through, but knows the mechanisms that need to be used in order to help our college students thrive.
Okay, that's important. Yeah, keep the Cleveland State students motivated to keep going, keep in school. I guess I know you best from when you ran for president a few times. I would always tune in to the Democratic debates because I thought you were a breath of fresh air on there. Really, I only liked you or Ron Paul in the Republican debates back, I don't know what that was, 2004, 2008 when you were running. But, I mean, I liked that you were, standing up against war, very loudly. I appreciated that. So that's my knowledge of you is from the national platform. And
let me tell you, if I may, Ron Paul and I worked together to try to stop those wars, and then once they started to try to end them, because, America cannot work just through the efforts of one party alone.
No,
I work with people at both sides of the aisle, and Ron, first among many, on foreign policy. And when we see the toll these wars have taken on our country, on our soldiers, on our budget, and also on innocent people abroad, it's clear that America has to take a new direction. And imagine having a mayor who has an understanding of the impact of foreign policy on our cities and is in a position to, based on my extensive work in Washington, is in a position to influence policies not only on a local but a state and national level as well.
Right, yeah. No, I really, I remember Ron Paul saying something like you guys would consider running on a ticket together, and I thought that would be great because I'm usually a third-party voter, but I like it when parties come together, with overlapping, people on the left and right come together, overlapping issues like that, working together, I'd like to see more of. Looks like we got another caller. I'm going to put him on with you. WCSB, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Drycore calling up. I have a question for Mr. Kucinich.
Go for it.
This is something I haven't heard any mayoral candidate address, and it's about the recycling in Cleveland. It's been notoriously stated that a lot of the stuff that could be recycled was all being just shooed right into the city dump altogether. And I was wondering if this was on your radar at all and how you would address it, because for years now it just seems that all the garbage, recyclable or not, is just being put right into the dump in Cleveland without any.
You are totally correct on that. I intend to restart a legitimate recycling program. And see, what's happened is that City Hall wasn't getting the price they wanted for plastic, so they just got out of recycling altogether. And as a result, the confusion that followed resulted in some people still sorted the recyclables for one.
Hello?
Yes.
Into the dark bin, and then the next thing you know, they found out the city was putting it all in the same place. I'm going to restart the recycling program, and we're going to make sure that Cleveland and the people of Cleveland will have full confidence in recycling, and we'll be able to introduce some new innovations that I don't want to unveil in this election, but in the general election, provided I make it through. People will be pleased to know I'm ready to take recycling to an even higher evolution of the art.
That's good news to hear. I haven't heard anyone address that as of yet, and that was a concern.
Thank you for calling.
I have one other quick thing. I'm on your Dennis Kucinich for Mayor website, and on here it's revealed there's a anti-democratic power shift to unelected officials is the title about a charter amendment. Can you give a little background on that?
Well, that's going to be, I think, one of the big issues in the general election, and that is that there is a charter amendment out there which, it looks like a great idea. We all want to make sure the police are responsive to people and that the civilians have input. But this charter amendment would actually supersede the chief of police, the safety director, and even the mayor in terms of decisions with respect to public safety. And, I'm running for mayor because the city charter provides that the mayor is the chief conservator of the peace. It gives the mayor the grave responsibility for public safety. And I don't think that the people of Cleveland really want to devolve those responsibilities to an unelected committee. no matter how high-minded that committee. The mayor has to be responsible, and I will be, and I will be accountable. And, elected officials must be accountable. But if we forget and we pass it off to a committee, it's so easy for an elected official, if it's somebody else, to say, well, give it to the committee, let them decide. Nope, that's too easy. Those who are elected have to be held accountable. You cannot hold a committee accountable, but you sure can hold the mayor accountable for his or her appointments to the position of chief of police and safety director.
Yeah, that is something I don't think most people it even crosses their mind. So I'm glad that that's out on your campaign, that you're addressing this and making more people aware of that.
Well, I will tell you, I want the police to be racially sensitive, constitutionally aware. I will not tolerate a bully with a badge. I want police to be considerate and kind and even compassionate, but they're going to enforce the law, and they're going to do it impartially. And we absolutely must do something about the violent crime in our community. And so I'm dedicated to making our community safer. Certainly the Cleveland State campus is, first among my concerns when it comes to public safety in the near downtown area. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that people can enjoy the city, enjoy downtown, and feel quite comfortable whatever neighborhood they live in.
Yes, that sounds very sensible.
Well,
just want to remind everyone we're listening to WCSB Cleveland. We've got some other callers. Do you have time to take a few more questions, Dennis?
Hold on.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got time for maybe two more calls, and then I'm going into the opening of the Cleveland Ballet. I'll be just off the Cleveland campus at the Union Club today.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm going to put another caller on the air, and Dry Coral will keep you on here. WCSB, you're on the air.
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. It's quite a pleasant surprise to hear Mr. Kucinich calling into college radio. And I've been a pretty decent admirer of your career. The one thing that seems a little slightly out of character, maybe you can explain how it's not. You've expressed what you feel seems to be the need for around approximately another 400 to hire another 400 police officers. And I don't want to really get into the thing of whether defunding police or other things are legit, but are there certain measures, certain ways that you feel would be ways to institute meaningful, vigorous, substantive oversight of police when it comes to matters that I think over the last year and a half have become pretty special with George Floyd and other Tamir Rice and other incidences.
The Cleveland police ended up coming under a federal consent decree specifically because of the Tamir Rice killing, and and the reason why there was a consent decree is because City Hall and the present mayor really had a hands-off approach to the police department, and at that point he said, "Well, it's out of control, and I'm going to turn it over to the federal government." That wouldn't happen under my administration because I'm doing everything. I will do everything I can to keep the police under the kind of control that public expects in terms of police conduct. Now, I want to make sure that the police are controlled, but that's the mayor's obligation, and we don't have enough police. Look, there are over 2,300 shootings in Cleveland. It's from January through the end of August. We have 42% of the homicide cases are not closed, which means that people are literally getting away with murder. We need more homicide detective scientific investigations. The level of retirements on the police department are outstripping new individuals who come, new cadets, by about a 3-to-1 margin. We're at least 300 below what the police department should be right now in the uniform strength that was agreed to in the budget the last several years. So the city's saving money by not hiring police, and that's not right.
Okay, but what seriously substantive measures could you take? I mean, obviously body cameras are one component, but the power of police unions, have an outsized influence on the fate of cops that do wind up killing people for any number of reasons.
One of the reforms that you'll hear more about in the general election, which I have talked about in this primary, was the creation of a civic peace department that will become the central organizing proposition of the city of Cleveland, where law enforcement supports peace, housing policy supports peace, health policy, restorative justice, economic development. All those things have to do with building a peaceful community. I'm not interested in law enforcement being the central organizing proposition of a city. That's a different kind of politics that I'm not necessarily congenial to, or that I'm not congenial to. And so
right.
I would like to say that there is another way to manage the affairs of a city without making it an armed camp. But the fact that we've had so much violence in Cleveland per capita, it may be the most violent city in America. And somebody's got to get control of that. There are people living in fear in their neighborhoods. They can't go to a gas station. They can't sit out on their porch. They can't walk the streets at night. And if we don't regain control of the streets from violent gangs and those who are committing mayhem, then, hey, whoever wants to be mayor wouldn't be doing his or her job. And I'm going to do my job and make sure that people know that they'll be able to have confidence in government, will protect people's constitutional rights. I will root out any expressions of racism that exist, but at the same time, we will enforce the law.
Okay, we've got another caller who's been waiting patiently, so I'm going to put them on the air. WCSB?
Hi, I had a question for Dennis.
Go ahead.
Hi, Dennis. I want to thank you for calling the station. I wanted to ask you a question about the bill that you originally put through in 2001, the H.R. 2977, to ban space weapons. And it was revised to the 2420 in 109th Congress. They're still using these things, and they're doing electronic harassment to people. I know that Pittsburgh has outlawed it. I know that Richmond, you had helped put that bill through out there for them to not do electronic harassment, and the stalking and harassment by the community for people who have been targeted by the government. And there's people as young as 5 years old, as you know, on this illegal government watch list. So I was going to see and ask you what you had planned to do. Are you going to outlaw electronic harassment in the Cleveland area?
Well,
I believe that it is causing a lot of mass shootings out here.
Well, a mayor has, limited abilities to interfere in what would be known as either national security or electronic surveillance. But I will, from the federal government. But I will tell you this. I was one of the leaders in the United States Congress to try to take America in a different direction, away from war and away from the use of exotic weapons that are being tested on people. And, and at that point, when I raised it, people were rolling their eyes saying, oh, nothing like this would happen. Well, actually, we need to be aware of what some of these labs are coming up with. And I will insist as mayor that anything we find out, any activity by any other government group that in any way compromises the health or the safety of the people of the city of Cleveland. Look, I have 16 years in Congress to call upon in terms of my experience as someone who was one of the leaders in raising questions about our national policies with respect to the use of weaponry and conducting wars abroad. So, I'm not a rookie when it comes to this, and there's probably never been anyone who's ever been mayor of Cleveland who has the foreign policy background that I have, in addition to a very thorough knowledge of domestic policy.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. And you see that William Barr is putting through the predictive policing, which is a complete violation of civil rights. And this is, like they said, it's like the Minority Report, where they are accessing your brain. remotely.
Yeah, well, look.
And that's causing a lot of the mass shootings out here. People don't want to admit it, but that's what is going on. And they are not admitting this in the public. They can't admit it because it's a total violation of all these people's rights. And as I said, these people are as young as 5 years old on this thing. And it's just ridiculous, the experimentation they're doing on people out here that have been targeted by the government and the harassment.
Well, let me just tell you something. You know, there were years ago, people were saying, I was talking about the fact that the government was involved in peddling drugs in the inner city, okay? And people were saying, oh, they wouldn't do that. And it proved out later on that the government was behind that.
Yeah, just ask Gary Webb, huh?
You know, I'm letting you know that there's probably no one better prepared to be mayor of a big city than I've been. All the experience I have at a local, state, and federal level, and I'd appreciate your consideration. I'm going to have to go right now. I can't be late for this next appointment, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be on WCSB. And what I'd like to do after the primary is take calls, for an hour or whatever, and you could just let the campus know they can call in, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. We really appreciate you calling. Real quick, I just want to know what your stance was on vaccine passports, and if more businesses or like government tries to push that unvaccinated people can't, access buildings in Cleveland. Where would you do as mayor?
I would say that I think it's very important for people, if they're able to be vaccinated. But as far as mandates, I'd be real careful with that. And, the state and the federal government are involved. As mayor, I have to wait and see what they're going to come up with. But I can tell you that we have to be very careful. I want to make sure the health of Clevelanders is going to be optimum. There's a lot of ways to address that, which I will in the general election. But as far as the mandates that you're talking about, that's still an open question that requires a lot more discussion. Okay?
Okay. Appreciate you addressing that.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you for calling in, and we hope to have you back sometime in the near future.
Thank you so much, and let's do it. Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you later. All right. Surprise visit from Dennis Kucinich and some other friends. Let me hang up all these phone calls. All right, you're listening to WCSB Cleveland. This is Heartbeat in the Brain, filling in for Radio Nomad, and that was Cleveland mayoral candidate Dennis Kucinich. WCSB does not endorse any specific candidate, but we do appreciate any mayoral candidate calling in to take callers from the community. It's always nice when WCSB can serve the needs of the community and hear people out. So the elections are tomorrow, and if you're a Cuyahoga County resident, you can vote at your nearest polling place. I think there's maybe 9 or 10 different candidates, but obviously Dennis Kucinich has been around the scene for a long time. He's ran for president a number of times, had his office in Lakewood when I first moved there. I guess that was none of this has been planned today. I'm doing a last-minute fill-in for Radio Nomad, so I didn't really plan a set or anything. I'm just kind of throwing it together, and I definitely wasn't planning on interviewing Dennis Kucinich, but got to be open when life throws you curveballs. So we got Sorry Bomba queued up. Let me start that up. I should probably give a playlist. So, beginning the set at the 4 o'clock hour, we heard from a German group called Niagara. And that was a drummers collective. Sangandonga was the name of the track. That's from 1970. That's a almost 20-minute song, a whole side from Niagara, their first album, German drumming percussive collection, who put out 3 albums. The first one is just a picture of a singular teat, close-up of a teat and nipple on the cover of that one. After that, we heard from Suso, some African music. That was Tomora, and that is off an album called Kira that got released in 2016. And we followed that up with Don Cherry from the Organic Music Society album from 1973. We heard 2 that kind of blended into each other, Elixir and Manusha Raga Kamboji. 2 in a row from Don Cherry. I played from Ethiopia, 2 in a row from Ethiopia. I played Get At You Makuria, who I've heard many times on this show, on Radio Nomad's show. It was taken off of a cassette that you can find on YouTube. If you look up Get At You Makuria, there's a couple of his hour-long cassettes, but there's no titles of the tracks in English, so I don't know what the name of it was. And after Get At You, we heard Mula Tua Statke with what's called Nin Sanet, originally from 1974, but I took it off of a compilation, the New York Adonis 69 to 76, I don't remember. I didn't write it down. And then we heard most of Guy Conquête and son group with Ping Pong. That is off Cadence Revolution, Volume 2. I had the compilation of music from 73 to 81 from, one of those African countries. You'd get much more detailed information about the countries if Radio Nomad were here. But she'll be back next week. Just doing the best I can. Anyway, sorry to cut that song short because it was a good one, but how often do you get a chance to interview Dennis Kucinich? So we got Sorry Bamba over there playing on turntable 3. If you're enjoying this music, I play similar stuff on my show, which will be on tomorrow, 5 to 7 p.m., Heartbeat in the Brain, every Tuesday. Tuesday afternoons. Play world music and minimal synth and other assorted weirdness. I will let the music play and find some other stuff to fill these last 45 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. You never know what you're going to get on WCSB.